podcasts, the final frontier. These are the musings of the Salon, 8 strangers who met on the internet. Their mission? To explore strange new episodes, to rewatch Star Trek and realize, wow, that is actually pretty sexist. To boldly watch what we've all watched before.
Red alert! Set an intention, go to Salon Trek.
Rawr. Rawr. Ahoy, hoy, friends, and welcome to the Salon. I am the daddy issues you refuse to address in appropriate manners, here to host the Salon. Tonight, we are discussing episode 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. But before we do... What? Play what? I don't know what I have to do. They've confined me in my quarters because of these visions of the future, but I know it's real. I don't understand it, but I know that Wolf 359 was an inside job. You have to warn them. The only thing you can do to save us is subscribe to the Salon. All of the podcast places at Salon Trek. If you have money, what they called money in the past, if you can throw a few dollars at the patreon.com/Salon Trek, you too can see what I've seen. Bonus episodes explaining the stories and what's happening. Just $5 a month and you get those. $2 or more goes a long way. Anything you can give. Please subscribe. Follow us on all social media. Help us at Salon Trek or at the Salon Trek on Instagram. I have no memory of recording that personal log. That is wild. All right, let me beam in my crew to see if we can figure this out. Starting, of course, with my co-host, my number one, hopefully not an illusion, Trevor. How you do?
Turns out Ghost Me also drinks.
Just pours right through. Speaking of pouring right through him, here's Will.
I knew that was going to be me, you rotten bitch. I'm here to do the stabbing.
Speaking of stabbing pains, here's Matt. How are you, Matt?
I don't really know what that means because I'm not a cop, but
that is not what I meant, but
problematic gay alert.
I can get us started early.
Well done.
Getting us started early. You know who does that really well? It's Krista. She gets it started. She'll finish it. She doesn't have time for your bullshit. Krista, how are you?
I'm eating chocolate-covered nuts.
Insert segue. Here's Joanne.
Oh, no.
How are you, Joanne?
Sorry, Joanne.
It's chocolate.
You know what? It works.
Time, majesty, praise to the king.
And she will melt in your mouth.
Oh.
Ooh.
You know who else will? Birthday boy himself. Benji, happy birthday. How are you?
Thank you. Ready and willing to suck Sam Kirk through a straw.
Girl, say.
Problematic gay alert.
And I feel like you should be able to for your birthday.
Yeah. Mustache rides all day. Oh. What? Sorry, I'm hearing voices and getting distracted. So sorry, everybody. That's right. We are talking about the Griffin incident, written by Robbie Thompson, directed by Axel Carolyn. The horror episode. Trek has done horror adjacent. They've done Genesis. They've done Night Terrors. It's been spooky, but this one really leaned in, and I'm excited to talk about it with you all. But Trevor, you raised your hand. Is there something we need to do beforehand?
Your impression of Genesis Man gets me every fucking time.
Genesis? Planet Forbidden. And it's funny too, because I'm waiting for somebody in the chat or online to just actually us, because that was Search for Spock, not the episode Genesis. Genesis?
You still have to say it that way.
We do. And you know what else we have to do before we can talk about this episode? We need to set an intention.
This is obvious, but don't forget to set an intention when you light it, or you're just going to be wasting the wax.
Indeed, we do. I didn't think of it until after. I should have turned out all my lights and just held the candle here, because that would have been very apropos. To set an intention tonight, I thought it would be fun if we asked ourselves, who could have done this also and possibly better? I thoroughly enjoyed the horror episode, so I'm going to, spoiler alert for later, go off on it in many positive ways. But I would like to know what other Trek series you think could have done a horror episode, and would it have been better? Would it have been different? Would it have been worse? I'm super curious about your thoughts. Mine is actually going to be uncharacteristically serious. I actually wish that TOS had done a true horror story, but not in the original series, in the films. I wish this had somehow had a tie-in to the terrifying version of Star Trek V, wherein the god being was connected to whatever was happening on the Griffin. I don't know.
I thought you were going to go with the rock creatures that they cut from the final edit.
I mean, they were pretty fucking scary from a what's happening on my screen right now perspective, if you've watched those cutscenes. But no, there was something not explained, obviously, about that particular story, and it wasn't supposed to be explained. There's something very unexplained happening here. I thought it would be really fun. I hate sometimes when they try too hard to connect the dots, but I thought those would have been some fun dots to connect for, canon and stuff. So that's my answer, but I'd love to hear what yours are. Let's go around the room. Krista.
Okay, so I did a variation. on
What?
this. I did, because I think most of the offerings have done some variation of horror. What I think would have been better, because I think this episode is kind of a combination between Night Terrors and The Naked Now. If you put both of those together, you would get something very close to this. And I think if they had gone a little deeper into the Cronenberg of it all, that I think The Naked Now would actually have been slightly more interesting, and it would have relied less on sort of sexual tomfoolery. With that also in mind, I also think that, and now hear me out, Sub Rosa would have been better if Ronan had the power of whatever this thing was on, and it became more about not a sustained 3-day orgasm that Crusher is chasing, but she leaves the ship because she is getting the pictures of what this thing can do to her crewmates. So it can take any guilt, anything, any big dream, anything that they want, and he can twist it up and turn it into a Cronenberg kind of self-harm. And so she's not leaving for the orgasms. She's leaving to protect what she thinks is happening to the crew. And then I think Sub Rosa would have.
I feel like what you're saying is she wasn't leaving to come, she was coming to leave.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm hearing.
And Will beat me to it, aren't we all?
My shirt is The Who, Benji. Anyway, so I think those two episodes for TNG would have been better with a little liberal dusting of Cronenberg body horror, psychological fuckery, and guilt turned against oneself.
I love it.
And I love that. I mean, who doesn't
do
want
too.
to go down and watch that shit, right?
I think I would enjoy that episode more than this one, and I really liked this one. Mateo, what say you?
You know, I actually have to agree a lot with what Krista was saying, because like we really have seen this a little bit in all of them. I think that I always am going to say I think DS9 would do it best, just because I feel like you could have like, if you want to do like psychological aspects, it could easily be like a vision from the prophets that wasn't just all hoity. Like it was somebody that interacted with an orb and had like a horrible like experience, like that type of thing. So then you get some little Star Trek message in there with it too. But that was kind of all I could think of, because like well, no, spoiler alert for mine too. I'm not a horror person, so this episode just didn't.
I'm sorry,
resonate.
did you say you're not a horror person?
Joanne, what about your thought?
So I agree. It was hard to figure out who would do it differently. So my choice is Star Trek Scouts. And instead of, them shooting random objects at the meteor starts chasing them, and then JR loses his mind and starts shooting his peers out the meteor blaster. You're welcome.
I am so glad it was you, if anybody, but I was going to say it. You beat me to it. It's so good.
But the lesson could have been how to deal with your nightmares.
Yes.
I think that's adorable.
I was so worried Joanne was going to do it.
We should
Would they show as many entrails in that?
Don't cut anybody's ears off. William.
My thought was, I know that we're not going to get Starfleet Academy. I think that if they showed like a Star Trek has gotten close. Like we got a little bit in Discovery, we got it a little bit in this, like that body horror. Like we get it a little bit. We're like, space is fucking scary and it does crazy shit to people and all that. Like I think this episode kind of gets into it a little bit, but like I think like I would like to see the kids deal with the horrors of space, where it's like you're dealing with something that is inhuman or intangible or whatever. Like I need to see them deal with it, because it's less about adults dealing with their fears, but children kind of confronting it. And I think there's something a little scarier for that. Like if we had like a slasher film, but with who's the final girl of Starfleet Academy.
Oh, I love it. Birthday boy.
I lost mine to Joanne's and I didn't have it back up because I was so confident, but
you're like, no one's gonna guess this one.
Yeah, I know. Let's just say TAS. Just shred them all up in a pool of blood.
What if all those weird continuity errors where they were wearing the wrong color or the wrong face was on the wrong character? Turns out it was all just part of the mayhem.
Wrong voice.
Yeah.
Like, why is Uhura?
Why does everyone sound like Majel?
Or Scotty?
Love it. Fearless leader?
I'm going to go parallel because, yes, Joanne got there first. I also was going to say Scouts, and I'll say Prodigy. Teach the babies. We kind of got a little close with the Borg episode. It was a little spooky for kids. But
and the mirror episode.
Oh, yes. Evil Jillian just long live the Empire. So fucking funny. Yes. The intentions are set.
Indeed.
Thank you, Trevor. We did it. Boo! I jump scare. I don't know how to transition, but except to say it's time for some top thoughts. Now, before we officially kick off the top thoughts, there's one comment I've been, and that is just to give an acknowledgement to Joel in the chat. Lon gave the 8 inches to Kirk before Spock did, and that is accurate. That is accurate. Kudos to you.
I don't think this has ever happened before, but even though it came from the comments, push the button.
Yes.
Problematic gay alert. You thirsty bitch.
Both the buttons, yes.
Somehow a little bit of both.
Right.
All right. Top thoughts. I loved this episode, and horror is not my thing. I do not like being scared. Do not scare me. Do not prank me. I don't like it. I normally stay up to watch. I wasn't going to, but then I couldn't sleep. I got 15 minutes in. I was like, absolutely the fuck not. I need the lights. I need all of the lights and a hammer. I love this episode. And even though I don't like horror, I think the genre, like sci-fi, doesn't get the respect it deserves for the storytelling that it can do. This episode was great because I think they did a really good job of giving us interesting things for, just get ready, I'm going to say it. They gave us interesting things with Jim Kirk. La'an and Spock especially. I can't wait to talk about it. I have 2 nitpicks we will get into later. A small one and a big one. We're going to save it. Girls save it. But the visuals were stunning. The director that they brought in to do horror specifically, I thought did an excellent job. Not too many jump scares. Really important psychological conversations happening. Those are my top thoughts. Birthday Benji, your top thoughts on the Griffin incident.
I also thought Jim was better in this episode. I've been like struggling with Paul Wesley's portrayal a little bit. I think he's coming into his own a little bit. Kind of liked it. I also don't love horror. Sorry, I don't like saying being in the negative. But yeah, like the direction really shows off, like especially in the camera work. Like I felt like watching it a couple of times, all the detail was in the camera work and getting the shots like just right to reveal certain things. It was like very, very, very good, and kudos to them on that, because I do think they carried it out expertly, even if it's not my thing. I really think that the series or the season is in a better place now. I think that like Strange New Worlds is like an episodic show, but with like character driven arcs, works much better than having like a plot arc driven arc. So I'm liking that we're back to this. I think it works like very, very well for the show. And I kind of really like at the end that the explanation for what happened is that there is no explanation. Like they didn't try to like do hand wavy techno babble. It wasn't an anomaly. They also didn't just gloss over it and just be like, is space magic or is in somebody's head, whatever. The answer is they don't know, and they brought in some specialists to deal with it. And oh yes, we need a Division 12 series. William.
Yeah, I personally loved Star Trek Event Horizon. If anyone's seen that. I really enjoyed this episode a lot. I think as far as like horror outings for Star Trek, I think this one was pretty successful. I think overall, I think it's a character-driven kind of episode with La'an and Spock and Kirk. I think is interesting. This is like the one episode I actually like out of the two. Well, there's only 2 episodes I like Kirk in, and this is one of them. So I appreciate this episode quite a bit. The stuff with Spock was interesting. I do think they could have leaned into kind of the horror elements a little bit more, not the gore of it. I think that was fine. I think I have some nitpicky things that I found a little ridiculous we can probably talk about, but like I think that sometimes this show pulls its punch when it comes to genre focused episodes, and I think Star Trek does that pretty broadly, and they kind of did it here. I think this could have been they could have leaned into it more. I think they could have pushed it a little further in terms of atmosphere, but overall I think it was really successful. Joanne, darling.
I don't enjoy horror, but I could appreciate what this episode was trying to do, even though, it's hard for me to watch those things. I don't I don't enjoy it. Um, but I also was glad and thankful that I waited till the light of day to watch it. Since Paramount played in our face last week, I just went on to bed because you're not gonna have me up, to play in my face. So I thought it tied up, and I hope once and for all, um, Spock's kind of conversation with himself about his duality and his heritage. I, am interested to see what this path is for Laan. I was excited to see T'Pring back. I thought I really, as much as I was hoping this would be over, I thought the Spock T'Pring um, sort of conversation or arc was the best thing they did in the entire episode. So, not my favorite, but I got it. Um, and we'll see where it goes. Matt?
I actually really don't have that much to say about this episode. I mean, I watched it. It I'm really not a horror person, and especially if I don't mind suspense, like that type of psychological horror. I think Star Trek can do that really well. I don't think anyone's gonna ever call me a prude, but in my one thing, I don't need that much body horror. I'm not. I don't like it. It's just not my taste. So I think it was hard for me to kind of get past a lot of that. Like, you can have Sam get sucked into the window without seeing. Like, I don't need all of that to be so literal. So I think for me, that kind of put a wet blanket on the episode. Overall, like everybody said, character arcs and everything were great. I still didn't need Kirk there. I'm still gonna stand down on that. I think it could have been one of the other crew, and I don't know. But I'm always happy to have Sam Kirk on my screen. So I was very happy with how much screen time he got. And he's getting a little thicker, just like a little bit, and I like it. Krista?
Okay. I loved it. I love a scary movie, but what I liked about this was not so much the disfiguring and that kind of in your face horror. I liked the psychological aspects of it, the sort of deconstructing of their consciousness in real time, in their face. My favorite inclusion was Sam Kirk. I love all things Sam Kirk. He is the better Kirk. And I enjoyed Tiberius being there only because Sam was there. So they balanced out, and there would have been no point for him to be there unless Sam shows up. And I thought that was sort of an interesting examination of how he views him, and Sam kind of being the more grounded of the two of them. I have one nitpick that I'll tell you in the end. But overall, I really enjoyed this, and mostly I enjoyed that they sort of started out kind of not pulling any punches about Kirk being somewhat of an absentee father, not really engaging. And in the end, after he has kind of an epiphany of having evolved into his own father and hearing Sam tell him what that feels like and what that looks like, making the call and the call going unanswered. Because I think the fear there is you're too late. It's already gone too far. And I like that continuity with the movie kind of being, you've taken too long. And the narcissism is there. So they stayed pretty true to that. So I really enjoyed it, but I didn't have to, it wasn't scary pants. I mean, it's like, come on, it's not The Exorcist, for fuck's sake. Y'all. And Trev.
I think the only thing I didn't like about this episode was the fact that I was about 5 minutes in before I realized that I was watching it with my back to an open window and it was dark in the backyard. And I was like, this was poor planning on my part. Should have left the back porch light on, something. This was very uncomfortable for me. I love horror. I loved it more after horror is my husband's favorite movie genre, so he introduced me to some of his favorite horror movies when we first got together. I forced him to watch sci-fi, but I've become even more of a fan as the years have gone on, and Trek has always skirted around this concept and this genre. Yes, Genesis is pretty scary if you really think about it, but it's like elementary school play horror. Like it's not it's not terrifying. It's just like, ooh, the night terrors not so terrible, except for the bodies waking up around Beverly. That's a little terrifying, but for the most part Trek has avoided this topic altogether, and I appreciate that they did it well. I've got lots of things to say about the Kirk family. I have possibly a nitpick which we'll get into, but I do want to call out one thing that I just absolutely loved, which is that, yes, there are many things that were happening that weren't actually happening, but that body that walked behind La'an and Kirk, that happened because they weren't looking at it. That wasn't something that they perceived. Like, we saw that on camera. So something fucked up was happening on that ship. And I appreciate the fact that when the episode ends, it really happened. Like, anyway. I'll stop because my time's up.
That's a great segue, because I like I mentioned in our chat earlier for the agenda, this episode didn't really feel like it had an A-B kind of thing going on, but rather character-driven things. And just picking up on something that Will had said earlier, that like it was mostly successful, but they kind of pulled their punches. One thing that I thought was interesting about this episode was similar to the musical episode. Like, the musical episode, in terms of musical genre, was all over the place to play in different ways to tell different people's stories. They kind of did the similar thing here with like Spock going through body horror, Jim going through more psychological horror, La'an going through whatever the fuck she's going through and the self-discovery. There were similar touches throughout and different ones. I want to talk about Jim first. You all know I've been critical of how often he's showing up. I want to say, if you're going to do it like this. Give us something interesting. Give us something new. Give us a reason that he's there. It's a stupid reason, but they gave us a reason. And they were at a conference, now they're carpooling. I fucking love it. That's very TNG to me. I fucking love it. And like everybody kind of knowing about David, and like they were talking about it, like, let's just get past it. Let's let the audience in on it and like get to what's going on. Jim's stuff is really interesting to me for a couple of reasons. Number one, y'all know I have daddy issues that I've talked about. I've been to therapy. I've worked on it. It's not my dad's fault. Whatever. His conversation with Sam was so interesting to me for two reasons. One, it talked a lot about his relationship with his father, his relationship as a father, and the cyclical nature of abuses, neglect, not knowing how to be a good father because he didn't have a good father, and repeating the same mistakes. And the flip side of that coin is his relationship with his brother, that he clearly values but hasn't put as much effort into as I think he would want. And something that I found fascinating, and I'm curious what you all thought about with the hallucination of it all. Sam and him, that conversation, I think some of that conversation probably has actually happened with those characters that we haven't seen. And some of it's just in his head, his projection of like, how do you balance it all? And he's like, I don't. Like, have they talked about that? Or does Jim just presume you don't balance it because how could you? You're also in Starfleet. It was fascinating and I loved it. I thought it was really interesting. I will, just to get it out of the way, say yes, there was space that could be spent on other characters. So I'm just going to throw this up once and be done with it.
Intruders among us. Danger. Danger. Intruders among us.
What'd y'all think?
I will take it because I will answer that question.
Please.
Because he's a character in Strange New Worlds. Like, they've just decided that he's a character, so he's going to be there. Like, just roll with it. I
heard.
Just saying.
Heard.
He didn't accidentally fall into the series. Although it feels that way sometimes with the carpooling. So I appreciate the very TNG, like Keiko, Guinan, Ro, and I are on our way back from a conference. Like, what? But that a horror episode started with a professional development conference is just kind of brilliant. But getting to the actual question, I so appreciated everything about Kirk and his parenting in this episode because one, the Wrath of Khan tries to make it Carol's fault. You told me to stay away and I did. That was the only bit we got about David and the fact that Kirk wasn't involved in David's life, and it made it Carol's fault. That Jim had a choice to make and he made it. It was a shitty choice. Yes, he got to fly around and be, live out his boyhood fantasies. And yes, he got to save the galaxy roughly 26 times a year for 3 years. But at the end of the day, he could have been a parent and he chose not to be. And has to face the consequences of that later, including, I wish something we had leaned into in the movies later on, though it would have felt a little disconnected, but like the grief of losing a child that you chose not to be a part of. Like, what is it like to lose someone you never had? That would have been a really interesting story to explore had we had like a phase 12 of the original series or something to that effect. But I think the conversation he was having with Sam and Sam saying, you can't find it, like, I don't do this, is exactly what you were saying about projection. I think Sam has made it work and Sam's spouse has made it work. And I think Sam's family is fine. I think Jim doesn't know how he does it. And so he just acts like it's impossible. And so for him, that conversation led him to, oh, there is no solution. This can't be done. Because he's trying to justify his own choices, which are shitty. Kristen.
You also get the throwaway line, well, Carol's not very fond of Starfleet. And it's like, but Carol is a professional in her own right. Mm-hmm. And presumably Carol manages to juggle both the parenthood and the professional, as women are expected to do. And I think that, personally, I chose to look at that scene as deliberately not pulling that punch, deliberately providing that information so that the audience could go, well, hey, wait a minute. She's, skilled. She's this and that, and she manages it. I also liked the idea of, in the projection, Sam saying, oh, one of those wind-up toys. I got a whole fucking room full of those wind-up toys. And they're wind-up toys. Like they were so meaningless to him. And being so sort of blunt about the idea of the difference between being engaged and giving the appearance of being engaged with your kid. You can buy the stuff at the airport, but it doesn't mean you're engaged with your kid. And I think that I think that Kirk's, and I'm going out on a limb here, but I think Kirk's real fear is that he doesn't really have the capacity to do this. And so it's really easy for him to project onto Sam and have Sam come at him like, well, I fucking did it. I had the same father. I got a room full of these toys. I still manage it. And I think really what it was, the psychological horror of it was him sort of telling himself, you don't have the capacity for this. And it sort of goes along the same lines of, well, you told me to leave, so I left. It gives him kind of an undercurrent of, well, if I stayed, I would have hurt him. If I stayed, I would have done it badly. If I stayed, because I don't have this capacity. So it's sort of this self-fulfilling prophecy that he just gave himself. And then to watch his brother, sucked through a hole and doing nothing. It's kind of like, I just like the imagery of it all. I liked the multi-layer horror of all of that, because you don't even have the capacity to save your brother. You don't have the capacity to love your brother in anything other than a narcissistic mirror for yourself on which to make comparisons. And again, why does this guy keep showing up? Narcissist gonna narcissist, but I don't know if I just made myself clear there or made it more convoluted or thought too much about it.
Well, who's good at convoluted things is Will. You threw up a hand. Do you want to throw it in the mix?
Yeah, I think because Carol says this later in Wrath of Khan, that she alludes that Kirk's career was always the first priority, that the child is not the priority. And they kind of discuss it, in him and Sam kind of talk about the cycle of being a bad parent. While Sam went on shore leave with his family, which is why he wasn't on the ship, he's decided that he's going to send a toy and do a FaceTime eventually, after someone said you should. So Kirk, instead of breaking the cycle of the bad father he had and his father's grandfather being a bad father, he said, I'm just not going to do it. So that's how he broke the cycles, removing himself entirely instead of doing what Sam did, which was be a better father. So it's interesting. And then that's what the realization he's come to, that we kind of see. I don't know whether we're going to see that go to fruition, but we see kind of the beginning of him making that decision here and what that kind of the outcome of it in Wrath of Khan is. But Sam says some lines about, when the view screen was getting broken, and he says, oh, this is how we're going to be free. And he's like, so Kirk's fear is that he just wants to be free. Mm-hmm. So him to be free is to cut himself completely loose of his child and the mother of his children, of his child. So it's that's an interesting thing, that he's afraid of the decision he's going to make. That's what the fear is. It's not that he's afraid of himself like La'an is, or Spock being afraid of what he is. It's more about him being afraid of the choices he's going to make, because he knows he's going to choose his career, the freedom to be untethered from them, to captain a ship, to go explore and gallivant across the galaxy. That's what he fears in the episode. So it's oh, got it. So I like that it makes Kirk kind of be kind of a shitty parent, because it's alluded to, but it's made more in Wrath of Khan that this was Carol. He was just abiding by Carol's wishes, but she's probably you're a shitty dad. You show up, and the archetype of the dad who's always gone and shows up with the crappy toy he got at the airport, and the kid's I have a whole shelf full of this, but he's never there. And then they don't answer his phone call because they're just why would they do that? It's very interesting. I thought the character stuff with Kirk, I thought was really cool in comparison to the three of them kind of together, because they're all dealing with fears, and the entity on the ship, whatever it is trying to elicit the most emotional reaction from them. And that's the one that got Kirk, was about his decision that he's going to choose his career over the family he probably thinks he needs to have. Very interesting.
It finally highlights that Kirk is bad at something. I mean, he's sort of the perfect hero for all of TOS, rarely making a mistake, and he gets way too much credit, in my opinion, for too many things. I can be a little I think, more objective than a Kirk fan or a Kirk hater because I don't really have any feelings about him. I didn't watch TOS for him, but I wasn't annoyed that he was there. But his perfection is obnoxious, and this kind of highlighting that doesn't exist was lovely. Joanne?
I don't think it was his fear so much as it was his regret. I think because the whole conversation, to me, hearing him and Sam talk about, their dad wasn't really present for them, and, that whole cycle of, and he's wondering how Sam does it. To me, you typically, when that happens, when you grow up with those sorts of things with parents who didn't love you the way you needed to be or be present for you, typically you kind of course correct, or you want to course correct as an adult and make some different choices and do some things differently. And I think Jim is struggling with the fact that even though this has been his reality, he still is not motivated to be a good father. He still wants to choose his career. He still wants to make being in Starfleet first, even though he knows what it feels like to not have, family present. He still chooses to be the A Spoon captain, right? And I think it's his manifestation is regret, and it's killing him because he should want to make different decisions, but he has to say to himself and admit to himself, I don't want to. And I think that's what's eating him up.
I think it's quintessential Kirk, though, isn't it? He's looking for an angle. He's looking for almost I don't want to say easy way, but it's what is that test they take, the Maru thing? The
Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah. So he fussed with that, passed it, cheated, but did he really cheat? It's that kind of, he's having a semantic argument with himself about regret, about fear, but he's trying to identify the angle that leaves him with the least amount of measurable accountability.
Yeah, the no-win scenario here is him being a good father, and he's just not showing up for the test.
Right. He's finding a way. He's finding a way around it, and I love that. I agree with the chat. I love that she didn't answer the call, because in the beginning of the episode, we sort of see, and in the movie and all of that, where, they had to fit themselves into the spaces that he would periodically make in order to be in his life. This wasn't a joint thing. It was, if they wanted to be around him, they kind of needed to fit. And, I think there are a lot of kids, myself included, in the 80s that are real familiar with the idea of, I was out with my friends. Sorry, I wasn't home when you called, Dad, after not calling for 3 months. Like, don't come at me for that. So I can totally identify with both the impulse to not pick up the phone if I was there, or to ignore the call altogether and not pick up. And I love that or she's just off going and doing the things that fulfill her and that carve out her own life, that include her son. And you can argue whether that was a good decision or not, but I like that for a character and for an icon that very rarely is ever told no and then forced to deal with no as the final result. That was a no, and there was no manipulating the no. She's not picking up, and I liked that for the kind of wake-up call that it undoubtedly won't be, but for her it was a wake-up call, I think.
I was really worried a couple weeks ago reading an article from one of the showrunners about this, about David being introduced in Strange New Worlds, that they were trying to retcon, like, well, there's a reason he wasn't there. He's not a bad father. One of many reasons I love the Salon is y'all have assuaged my fears that the audience might start to feel that. Like, I don't know. I still don't know if that is their intention with other things coming this season or not. But I think the nuance with fatherhood in Trek is not always there. But this conversation shows that there is more of it.
What if it's David that turns them all into puppets? Sorry.
Yes. You know what? Like I said before, it's all about the execution. Like I wouldn't put him in here, but they did. So the execution is what's great.
He does grow up to build planets with his mother. I mean, the boy's creative.
That proto matter is wild. Maybe it turns humans into felt if you're not careful.
You don't know.
Oh, a nice felted hat, though. That's lovely.
Mm.
A nice felted hat.
Did anybody else have thoughts about Jim's psychological thriller before we talk about Spock's body horror?
Oh, I thought you were just going to stop at Spock's body, and I was like, yeah, we can move on.
Listen. All right, let's talk about Spock. I agree with Joanne, as always. I'm hoping this is them turning the corner and, like, ending this. Every time we talk about Spock and his heritage, it's troubling. Murky. This one, though, I think, the execution was really good. I loved the conversation that he's having with T'Pring. I felt in season 2 it was a little ambiguous of, like, did they open things up or did they actually end things? This confirmed for me, no, they ended it, so they're going to rekindle at some point in the future. I like I said, I agree that they've done a little bit too much, but this one, like, it being so direct, he's cutting off, or she was cutting off the Vulcan parts of him. And when that happened, I was like, oh, he's the one doing it. This is gonna turn. It's gonna turn. Again, not a horror person, but they did it well. I like it. It freaked me out. Mission accomplished. Gia Sendao, man, this is one of my favorite performances of hers. Like I really enjoy her, even though I think they've done a little too much, but I really enjoyed her performance overall, and in this episode especially. What did y'all think about Spock's self-reflection and mutilation? Let's go to Will and then Krista.
I really enjoyed Ethan Peck's performance in this episode. There was a lot of, like, there was a moment where he's at that circuit board and he, like, looks at her, and the way he looks is like, I think she asks to help or something, and he's just like he's like a little annoyed with it, which is so funny. Like, the way he looks at her, because he's like knows that she's a figment of his imagination, like he's trying to tether to logic. And I do hope this is kind of the end of his issues with his heritage and being both Vulcan and human. It was interesting how it manifests, where he kind of was, I think he actively fought against it in a way that was really interesting, and decided that the Vulcan thing is what brought him back, was the logic. He was talking to Chapel later on, and I really loved their conversation when he was talking with her about, her being on that planet and not going into the mess hall and stuff. But yeah, it's really interesting. It was a really interesting episode. Or his like story was very interesting, and it was all the self-mutilation, which is really disturbing. But that's how it manifests for him, where his psychologically, it's less about him dealing with the problem, like wrestling with it. It was more about him actively trying to cut it out, which is it's different, because it's always felt like there was like a tension between these two things, with his human side and his Vulcan side, and there was like the two things were fighting against each other. But this, it's like he's like, the way his mind thinks about it is, he's like, I have to cut this out. It's a cancer. I have to remove it, which is, I think, an interesting way of manifesting it rather than it just being like the two wolves inside you or fight that thing. It's a little played out, but him thinking that it has to be cut and removed is actually gives more of a psychological insight into what he feels about the Vulcan parts of himself.
And the solution being the opposite was really interesting. It feels like they've turned the corner and like I'm leaning into my Vulcan side to get out of it.
With the poem and how it brought him in, and like even when he when it kind of like when he kind of clicks out of the dream world, and when he clicks out of it and kind of looks around, and the way he's like, oh, like the way he kind of like like the process that Ethan goes through in that performance is real. I think it's very interesting because he says very little, but his eyes and his face say a lot. So I'm going to say something controversial yet brave. I do think he is the best Spock. Sorry. I think he does more with the character kind of broadly. Leonard Nimoy always holds the crown there, but I think Ethan Peck really digs further into the kind of the subtext of that character a lot. Really mines it really effectively.
In Nimoy's defense, Peck is given more to work with.
True. I will say that. They're different characters. I'll say that they're not the same character, but Leonard Nimoy will always have that. But I think of the three Spocks we've had, I do think Ethan Peck is the one who is going the furthest with it.
And Ethan has the hardest job. He has to get us from something new and interesting to the familiar. And how does he get that arc done? And it's with the talent you just described.
Yeah.
Krista, you had your hand up earlier.
I think what's kind of interesting as a through line between all three of them is this idea of the impact of historical ancestry and how that affects you. And what I thought, Kirk kind of cutting corners, trying to find the easy way out. It seemed very similar to me that initially Spock's idea was, I'm just going to take away the physical identifiers of being, I'm going to trim the ear and I'm going to, and then it coming out that he could completely disconfigure his face. He could completely adjust all of that stuff, but his internal structure remains the same. His internal conflicts and all of that continue to remain the same. And I liked that part of that internal construct, part of the making of him, if you will, is T'Pring. It is the most familiar thing to him, associated with a heritage he would like to distance himself from. So, take that as you will. One other thing that sort of bothers me in these first two episodes with Spock is that he seems very weirdly submissive to La'an. Like she's sort of directing the ship and he's just kind of trying to figure out, everybody's I see you laughing. He's just kind of trying to figure out how to hold on to the mast. And it's like, I'm really hoping that after this episode, he kind of comes back into himself. Like he doesn't actually, I think he's outgrown. I think he's outgrown the relationship. I'm not interested in the relationship, period. But I think that in order to be in the relationship, I feel like he sort of felt like he needed to disengage from the Vulcan thing. It was just another thing that he was engaging in that was compelling him to do that. And I think after this and having the mirror and sort of reacquainting himself with himself, that will fall a little to the wayside. And I liked that it was Chapel that pointed out, so T'Pring is who you went back to.
Another thing, just enough. They did it like for a show that, like, we've talked about how they pull their punches sometimes, and sometimes they skirt around canon a little too much. This was restraint. That conversation with him and Chapel, I thought was pitch perfect. Hey, remember we used to fuck? Oh, you thought about T'Pring? T'Pring brought you back? No, Logic did. It was so good.
I think some of what you're feeling, Krista, is, you know, I don't know if it's dominant or submissive. That's a whole nother level, I think. But I think Spock has been leaning into his body, right? And living out things in his body, and his relationships are all in his body. Like last week, you wanted to see La'an and her outfit and come with me and take off the boots. And, and Christine was very much, again, they were, he was in his body. And I thought it was brilliant that T'Pring was the one his subconscious manifested, because on some level, again, kind of like Jim's regret was his family and being his father, I think Spock is feeling guilty that because he's betrayed T'Pring with his body, right? In his body, been around with all of these people. And so up until now, his solution has been, you were spot on, I agree with you, to cut these things out, right? But then, so we see it, he cuts his ear off, he watches Pike cut his hands off. And the fact that Anson Mount made these guttural sounds as he chopped his hands. Oh, I
that
thought
creepy smile.
I thought he was going to lose.
It was like,
but he was in his body, right? But then he decides, he recognizes that it's Logic. And I'm gonna say, this is my controversial, brave take. I don't think that Logic is profoundly Vulcan. They do it better, but Logic manifests itself. That's a human trait. It's a Vulcan characteristic. The Vulcans might do it better, but Logic gets him outside of his body, right? And into his mind, into his ego, into his, things outside of that to hold all of this in balance. So it's never, you know what I mean? So I thought it was brilliant. I thought that move was brilliant. Because then at the end, Spock is the only one who actually sees the Griffin in its actual state. Like nobody else sees what the world really is. It's only Spock. So yeah, I thought it was really well done. Really well done. But I do also go, it's the end of this conversation too.
Well, I wanted to just add Pike and Una being part of that. Like something that can be really good in the horror that I have engaged in is also humor. Like Freddy Krueger is actually a really funny bitch. Like hilarious even.
She's hilarious.
She will get you. She comes in your dreams. It's hilarious.
So are the boys in Scream.
Also that, yes.
They're very funny.
But I mean, Freddy Krueger shows up and kills you with his fierce nails. Come on.
Mm-hmm. I loved Una and Pike. I'm glad it was a hallucination, but Una going, I never liked her. It was like Rebecca's comedic timing. Let her do it more. I never liked her. But then leading him right back around just to torture. It was funny and creepy, executed so well. And Handsome Mount doing a creepy Joker smile. Ooh, could still get it. But damn.
I could be way wrong because I don't have the best ear ever, but it sounded like they used the sound of chopping carrots for the chopping of the fingers. Like the mimicry there was a little too spot on and gross and terrifying in all the ways.
I'm married to a chef, yes. And I can tell you that in the kitchen, if you are not a person with knife skills, the way they do that is he cringes. If I try to cut something, he'll cringe because he's imagining exactly what Spock is imagining. It's like what was so great about that was that it is such a relatable, if you've ever been in that industry, if you've spent any time, it is a very relatable thing to that's what you start cutting.
Ugh.
Of nothing. That's
No,
fun.
no,
That's just fun.
absolutely apropos. I do want to call it, it's unusual for us to do a programming note in the middle of an episode, but I do want to acknowledge Anthony mentioned in the chat that he needs to go back and rewatch TOS. Great timing, because when this season of Strange New Worlds ends, we will be doing a TOS thumb war for several weeks. So if you're wanting to do a rewatch, now's the time.
Get excited. The tossers will be alerted.
They'll be tossing.
They will be tossing. Talk about La'an's found family. Girl's a mess. I love that she's finding kinship in that zombie bitch. Great guest performer. Like, super great. Her family is Starfleet. That's why she's going nuts. I meant to mention this in my top thoughts. I loved that nothing was explained. I love that she looked out the window and saw that bitch in the other window being like, shh. Ooh, creeped me out. And that, again, shout out to Joel, that La'an gave Kirk the 8 inches. Let's talk about La'an, the final Ga'an girl of the Griffin incident.
My only problem with La'an is I wish that she had been the last affected. I wish whatever was happening with this augment situation had affected her in the way where whatever's happening happened to her last. She was somehow more resistant to it. I don't know why that would happen, because they didn't explain what was actually happening, which was great to your point. But I wish that there had been a delay in her experiencing what she experienced, and then her seeing it. I wish that had happened. I wish she had been looking through some sort of enhancement, like where it seemed too far for her to actually see what was the person, the lieutenant in the window. So I wish there had been some way of making that more obvious, that she was seeing that we weren't just aware that it was happening. But everything about Christina has done some amazing things in this role, but also didn't have a ton to work with, like in the first season. This was such
the gone.
This just looked like it looked like the actress was having a blast.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoy watching it when someone seems to be enjoying their job, and the few times when I'm taken out of the character and I'm looking at a performer, it's nice to look at a performer who seems to be having fun. And she certainly did. And I don't just mean when she was making out with Ethan, because anyone would enjoy that, but it was clear she was having a good time. Mm-hmm.
I don't disagree with you about her getting affected at the end, but I also wonder if the flip side, like if her augmented nature is what made her
hypersensitive.
Yeah.
Oh,
like help tell that part of the story a little bit more deeply. But again, I love this episode. I think they did really good with it. This has been something that we've talked about, Trek movies talked about, and some other of the Trek pods have mentioned. Like, you made her a Noonian sing. When are we going to Noonian out? And it looks like she's about to
sing.
Thank you. Yes.
You're welcome.
Krista?
I'm going to agree with Anthony here. I think she was more... I think she was more susceptible because she questions her own commitment to not harm people. I think certainly given last episode, the first episode of the season, and the little blurb that we got before the episode started today. I think that she's easily more susceptible because she is entirely confused by her own identity. She's entirely confused as to what she is now versus what she was, and feeling kind of disengaged with the capacity to be what she was. So that was enough of a crack for this entity or whatever it was to sort of identify, in the same way that Ronan sort of identified grief as the way to get in. That's what this did. And also shout out to Carnival here for that scene where the ship is going by and she's in the window. If you remember, if anybody watched it, where one of the daughters of the Cooch show got killed, and
yes,
to stay.
Yes.
In the, you remember, it had exactly the same kind of eerie, wow, okay. And yeah, so anyway, I think it's down to heritage. It's down to heritage and how it defines a person, and she being relatively undefined at this point now, not in the beginning, but now.
But even the window scene, as much as that was meant to tell us that what happened, the fact that form got up and walked behind two people that weren't looking and didn't know that happened tells us that what happened. I could eat it up.
My feeling by the end of the episode was that like the one thing that was real on that ship was that person, and that I think she's like actually wandering around the ship and affecting the minds of people on the ship. One thing my feeling about Lon, like, it's kind of weird because like in the recap, somebody's getting towed outside. I don't know if you can hear that, but apologies if there's noise. They're a little ruthless here.
Drag her.
Yeah. In the recap, it seemed like they were trying to tie this episode to her augmentedness, and so my feeling was that like Lon was exactly the right person to fall into this place, because where like these evil things may be like disturbing to Jim and might be disturbing to Spock, she finds it fucking delicious. She leans into it. She's evil at heart, and this was like a crack in her facade that's been protecting her until these changes have happened. I don't think they did a great job tying it into her augmentedness in like during the episode. It just seemed like that's what they were setting up in the recap. So I don't know if they'll address it later. I'm guessing they probably will, because this is like the season long character arc, it seems. I'm here for it, so hopefully they will explain it more. But that's the feeling I came away with. So also, I just want to say one thing. I was a little disappointed in her when the zombie put the hand on her shoulder and she kept thinking he was Spock. Like, she has like these great instincts. Where did they go for that? I just thought that was a weird thing for her, that she would. Yeah.
Spooky zombie has Vulcan vibes. I don't know.
Maybe.
I also think
when they're spooky,
like
together.
We know that unfortunately this era of Trek is coming to a close. I'm glad that they didn't answer everything, but this is, as much as I don't like horror, this would be an interesting thing to come back to in like a season 7 or a season 8 of Strange New Worlds. Like Division 12 comes up and be like, hey, remember that? Like, maybe not answer all the questions, but like touch on it in some way.
I just had an epiphany.
The Changeling. Mm-hmm.
I think you may have touched on where Una goes.
Division 12.
What if that's why we never hear from her again?
They fucking better not kill her. I swear to God, we riot.
I don't think they kill her.
We ride.
I don't think they.
I have to say, because it's in my notes, and it's like my one other comment. There is like, they promoted her in the last episode, and in this episode, the fake Una says Starfleet will never promote me to captain because I'm Illyrian. So I'm like,
but that could just be that. Maybe that's just Spock's assumption, because that was I don't like to pring Una, and that wasn't real Una. We don't know.
It still could be foreshadowing.
In fairness with that, I do think that it was more along the lines of like, he sees a part of, like, he sees in her that there is a part that she doesn't like, and he is paralleling that with the part that he doesn't like about himself. So I think that was almost his mind, like creating another reason. Like, oh, see, I'm not alone. I'm not weird for this. Like, Una hates, like, this bothers Una too. For me, that's how it came across. Also, I think unfortunately, I do think they're going to kill her.
I think they kill Erica. I don't think they kill Una.
Or La'an.
I think La'an and
I think this is foreshadowing for La'an.
Luann?
For Luann.
Luana Sanj.
I'm a countess.
Lawania Niner.
Trashy cunt.
That's her name. Lawania Niner Speak.
I think she's gonna get a little stabby. I think I think it's foreshadowing for that. And I would also be here for that.
Listen, good for her.
I wouldn't.
It's very midsummer. Good for her. Gone girl summer. Let's do it.
I wouldn't be surprised if Division 12 is absorbed by Section 31.
Well, I think they should. I have thoughts on that.
Okay, have some.
Girls save it.
I was gonna say. Well, before I was gonna say, like, I could see them doing this whole thing of La'an ends up killing Una, or something like happens that both of them end up dying.
Can she kill Erica?
And that's why Jim Kirk will never speak about La'an Noonien Singh and not find the name somewhat familiar a few years from now.
I just think he gets bonked on the head.
I was going to say he gets distracted by those beautiful.
Well, we know he wasn't distracted by being a parent.
But
we love a callback.
You know what? This is a great segue because I feel like we are getting into a different area of discussion. But I don't want to stop talking about La'an if folks have anything else about La'an's journey in this episode before we move on to our next segment. Well, then, in that case, it's time to quibble a little bit.
Now, just a minute.
I have two triple quibbles.
Let them out. Don't hold them in.
So, do you want the rant out of the way first or the easy one?
Let it out.
So the rant. Jim Kirk was not a Boy Scout.
I can fix this.
I think you already did in the other stream, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but may I? Because that's what I was thinking too. He lied to La'an.
Mm-hmm.
He lied to La'an. He just didn't want to seem like a nerd, overprotected. Oh, he was a Boy Scout instead.
Or lied to Carol.
Yes. Oh, no, I wasn't a Boy Scout. I'm cool. Let's have a kid. Mm-hmm. Yes. Because
he's a liar who lies.
He's a liar who lies, and he's not in his son's life, and you can't make him a better parent. I love Star Trek 2. I think it's overhyped. Ooh. I said it. It's great, but it's overhyped sometimes. But Carol specifically says in that movie, when her son, Jim Kirk's son, remember him, was like, oh, that old Boy Scout you used to pal around with. And she's like, honey, Jim Kirk was many things, but he was never a Boy Scout. I brought this up on another stream. I've talked with other people individually. I'm like, help me with this. Some folks have said, well, she was talking like personality wise, like it's a turn of phrase. I'm not on board with that, maybe, but she's very specifically says he was never a Boy Scout. Like the wording was specific. And the thing that I loved about that in the movie was she and David were brand new characters in that movie they did not consider during the show. And that moment demonstrates a beautiful relationship that Carol had with Jim at some point. It's illustrative of the relationship that they had. It was an important moment. And it felt to me like folks at Strange New Worlds who don't like the idea of Jim Kirk not being perfect are trying to retcon and make it Carol's fault. So I really appreciate that's my triple quibble, but I really appreciate the Salon tonight, especially because you all have assuaged those fears with what we were talking about with him earlier today, with like I was worried that that's what they were trying, but that's not the vibe you all were getting, and that thrills me. But I think Jim Kirk is a liar who lies to either La'an and or Dr. Carol Marcus. And then I have a minor quibble, but I don't want to open up the floodgates unless people want to talk about that.
What's your minor quibble? You've gotten your major quibble out of the
Thank
way.
you so much.
Your minor quibble.
When they beam back and Jim Kirk is bleeding out, no movement to help him for like 10 seconds. They're like,
or called a sick bay, or
Jim, La'an, what? Oh my, what happened over there? Oh, I will walk over. Una is just stood there being like, I know this fucker's coming from my shit. He's coming from my seat. I'm going to let him bleed out. That's my minor quibble.
I think they were mesmerized by Littlefinger's dagger, Valerian steel dagger that you're the one.
It was you.
I
learned it from watching you.
I learned it.
You're welcome, Krista. Shall we go around the room?
Are we all going, or what are we doing?
What are we doing? Who's in control of this show?
Now is the time for quibbles if you have them.
I have two.
Yes,
Krista.
My minor quibble is, while I understand the need for it in this episode, I have found that since Picard, the lighting is so dark that I question whether I have the right prescription in my, I question my life. I'm questioning, am I seeing these things? Am I not seeing these things? It's not just this show, but it's just television in general. The lighting is becoming very dark, and I'm figuring it's just everyone's high at this point, and so it's closed captioned, so it doesn't matter. My larger quibble is, you have an entity on a ship that seems to take advantage of damaged people, and an organization that is filled with absolutely nothing but fucking damaged people. So absolutely, let's tow that thing instead of just blow it the fuck up. Just blow it up.
Krista, I'm so glad you said that, because that was my only quibble with this. Like, you had this massive thing that happened, an outbreak on a ship. Torpedo the fucker. We don't need another secret organization, which is kind of what Division 12 is feeling like. And like, why are we like, oh, let's study this? Like, no. Picard did it. He destroyed a couple ships when he realized like there's an infection. No, just boom.
So Mr. DTI has a problem with another secretive organization coming in, horning in on your space.
He's trying to
give it up. There's nothing secretive about DTI. They will slap you in the face and tell you to stop it.
There's nothing secretive about Division 12 either. They didn't say they were secret. They just said they look into the unexplained. They're the X-Files.
They keep
the X-Files of Starfleet. I think that would be a cute thing.
The truth is out there, but we need every fucking truth? Do we need this thing that could, like,
Krista, it's the first duty.
Whatever.
They have to learn. What if they run into it again?
Truth,
there are some things that are just non-negotiable. I mean, I would make I would make a decisive captain, but I would be a very bad.
It did feel like it felt like there was less to lose by blowing up the Griffin than there was to gain by not blowing up the Griffin. So I see what
you just lost the last scene where we see the
spooky lady.
Yeah, because making sure something like that didn't happen again has some value, but like it was only happening there. So like, was it a risk before towing it out?
Maybe they want to try to cure the crew member.
Since these dudes are actually responsible for the origins of man, are they not also responsible for removing those elements that will damage their own self-creation? What? What?
Listen, for that question, For that question and so many other reasons, the idea of you as a captain is both exciting and terrifying. Not the least of which.
I don't see the point of a stun.
Be
I don't.
like Star
I
Trek
would go to the
Dexter or
top.
something.
Well,
I would-
Stan, I don't know if you're prepared for this, but we all know what Will would say about this whole situation.
Beam a
Wait.
torpedo directly under their bridge.
Well, that and
Thank you. Land the
I-
ship.
Before we land the ship, I'm so sorry. I think there's a disagreement happening here with me and my co-host. Trevor, are you trying to tell me something?
Well, first off, fuck you.
Heard. Okay, I'm so sorry, Trevor. I'm so sorry.
wanted to make sure we were all on the same page.
Yes. I love that.
Heard.
I love that.
Trevor, now that we've cleared that up, can you do me a favor?
I can try. I got me a little scorecard, but before I read it, something's happening next week.
Say more.
I wrote a song about it. Like to hear it. Here it go.
Yes. Get ready for Salon to Las Vegas, beaming down next week, celebrating 60 years of Star Trek with some incredible guests, including awkward conversationalist from Deep Space Nine, Stanley. He said what to Connor Trenier? Yikes. DTI's biggest headache, temporal conspiracy theorist from Voyager, Matt. He's blurry for a reason. Well, actually, it's Ken, the biggest tosser we know. Samuel T. Cogley's assistant himself, not seen on screen, will be there Wednesday to Sunday asking, where are we going next? Stumbling over from the bar to dispense the most sage wisdom you have ever heard, it's 10 forward drunk from the next generation, Trev. He will be demonstrating how to contain a warp core breach by drinking them. And finally, sliding down the corridor, it's Will, blue shirt homosexual from Star Trek Into Darkness. And that's real, by the way. He'll be there Wednesday to Sunday handing out salon nonsense and opinions. Please note the following cancellations. We don't deserve her. Joanne, wise lady from Prodigy, in all of our hearts, will not be attending. If you had photo ops with her, salon ladies, or Take Me to Church, you can exchange them for other tickets available on site. Fed up with his bullshit from Star Trek Picard, it's Krista, and she's fed up in general. Won't be attending this year due to men. If you purchase solo photo ops, group salon ladies, or problematic ally photo ops, you can exchange them for tickets on site. And we are so sorry to say Benji, the apologetic man from Enterprise, is also so sorry to be unable to attend due to administrative bullshit. If you purchase solo photo ops or the group Salon Twinks and Twunks, you can exchange for other tickets. Salon to Las Vegas. Come say ahoy hoy. That's right, everybody. 5/8 of this crew will be beaming down to Las Vegas next Wednesday to Sunday. If you will be there, please come say hi. We've got some bullshit. You'll need to remind Matt. He'll just have it in his hand. Just tell him, like, hey, do you have something? And then he'll give it to you. And then he'll give it to you.
That might be a freebie in his pocket, or it might be a freebie in his pocket.
It's a whole lot either way.
If you seek Jamaharon, come say ahoy hoy. Very excited about the convention next week. Speaking of next week, we will not be live next Thursday at our usual time. We're going to try, emphasis on try. You may have noticed in that video a propensity for some of us to imbibe certain substances. So we're going to try to put out some content next week. We might go live. We might just put out videos. We might have to push it to when I wake up 3 days later.
We might accidentally go live.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, let's be clear. We're going to end up going live while we are at the Masquerade Bar.
But it's probably not
a great idea.
And for only $19.95, BenjiFans.com.
Canadian dollars.
Canadian dollars, yeah. So it's a steal.
Mm-hmm.
But get excited. Also, You thought we were done with our Voyager era. We are not. We have one more mission until the end game. The game, it's ending with end game on Monday here on YouTube and Twitch.
Is it end game or is it end game?
The end is gaming and it's the end game on Monday.
Now
My single is my single is called, my single is dropping, and it's dropping.
Got it.
Anytime I can reference 30 Rock. Next Monday, 5:30 p.m. Get excited. All of the podcast things, please like and subscribe. And until then, here's the scorecard.
Yep.
I almost did it. I was like, wait a minute.
I was like, don't you dare.
Woo!
There
You would have been, he would have killed me, and I would have deserved it.
It would have been more lit than I'll be at the Masquerade Bar next week at STLV.
Warp Core Breach.
What? There were 3 problematic gay alerts. There was 1 problematic ally alert. Krista changed the question once, and Joanne took us to church once. I gave 50,000 bonus points to Krista for clocking my yoga prowess in the pre-show. You want to know, don't you? I gave Krista an additional 50 bonus points for unapologetically referencing Spock's mast. I gave 44 million bonus points to Benji for wishing he was that broken window. I gave 250,000 bonus points to Joanne for getting there first. Good for you, girl. I gave 69,000 bonus points to Will for being on day 5 of his 3-day orgasm. I gave 400 bonus points to Matt for acknowledging my callback skills. Thanks, girl. And last but not least, I gave probably 8 bonus points to T'Pring for not chopping off anything else.
Y'all, tonight has been absolutely fucking delightful. Great episode. This season's off to a wonderful start. I can't wait for next week. But you all will have to, because again, we will be back in 2 weeks discussing the next episodes of Strange New Worlds. Trevor.
Unless you're at STLV and you see one of us, and whether we're stumbling, standing, laying on the ground.
Any number of things.
Give us a nudge. We'll probably give you something free. I said what I said.
Live long and prosper, everybody.
All hands abandon ship. Proceed to the nearest evacuation zone immediately.